Welcome everybody to the Jurassic Park podcast. You're about to hear some audio from episode 234. Go download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. For now, please enjoy some audio from today's segment, The Innovation Center with Tom Fishenden, featuring Jack Ewins of Dino Defenders Extreme. Enjoy.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Innovation Center here on the Jurassic Park podcast. So today we have got a very special episode. I seem to be saying that a lot at the moment, but we've got a lot of cool episodes going on. So today we are going to be taking a look at a very special dinosaur related project, Dino Defenders Extreme. So there is no better person to look at this with than with my special guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello guys, my name's Jack, and I am the creator of Dino Defenders Extreme. Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
There it is.
I like it. Nice and concise. Cool. So, yeah, obviously all of you guys will already be familiar with Jack, I am sure. But I'm not entirely sure that all of you will be familiar with Dino Defenders Extreme. So today we are going to talk a little bit about it, find out what this project is, what's going on with it, and what the future is for it as well. So right off the back of that, Jack, for anyone who is not familiar with it, what is Dino Defenders Extreme?
Well, I want to stipulate before I get into exactly what it is that it's actually not anything Jurassic related. So it might be a bit weird that on the Jurassic Park podcast we're going to have a whole segment about something that's not entirely related to Jurassic Park. The reason I say that is because a lot of people who watch it and know like my background tend to think, is this something to do with Jurassic? But it's not. It's my own project. The only thing it has going for it that's like linked to Jurassic is it's obviously heavily inspired by Jurassic Park, among loads of other things that inspire it. But Jurassic Park is the main one. But yeah, Dino Defenders Extreme is a web series that I had this crazy idea for. Was it 4 years ago now? Was it 2017? Yeah, 3 years ago. That was when I first wrote the first frame. Anyway, we'll get into the history in a minute. But yeah, I had this idea for this web series, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we hear this talk amongst Jurassic fans and people who like dinosaurs and stuff, that there's not enough dinosaur-related content out there that's sort of aimed at more mature audiences, and this lack of, I mean, I know we've got Camp Cretaceous, supposedly coming out this year, which is going to be the first officially released Jurassic Park animated series, but we did have was it three animated series in the past that were cancelled, and
there were always plans, but nothing ever actually ended up coming out.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that really irked me as well, because as a kid who grew up watching things like Cadillacs and dinosaurs and that, I was like, where's my Jurassic series like this? It's perfect for it. So Dino Defenders was like, well, I was like, why don't I just make one that's like answers that call as best as I can? And I'm not a animator. Well, I at the time I wasn't an animator, so I was like, I have no idea if I can even do this. And my drawing humans and stuff was best left to the imagination at the time. But yeah, so I was like, I'll create a series that sort of heeds that call, and here we are.
Yeah, so it's been cool. Obviously, we'll talk about it a little further on, but at the point that we are recording, 2 episodes have already been released, and we are on the cusp of releasing episode 3, so lots of really cool stuff that's already out there for people to check out. So obviously you mentioned you came up with the idea back in 2017 for Dino Defenders Extreme, and then obviously have worked on it since then. So when it came to that initial process with the series, how did you come up with that idea, and what kind of things inspired you to really dive into this and actually make it a reality at the time?
Okay, so sit down. We're going to be here a while. So it was a combination of things that were happening. It was talking to a lot of Jurassic fans about this lack of a Jurassic cartoon, as I previously mentioned. It was also this this idea I've had floating around in my head for a while of doing some sort of online web comic, and that back in 2016, 2015 era, we were trying to do with Jurassic World Regenesis.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was shortly after Masrani Global, all had been said and done with that, and we'd launched the backdoor terminal and stuff to coincide with the Blu-ray release. We were all finished, and me and Tim were like, well, what should we do next? And then we had this idea of like, oh, we should pitch to Universal an online web comic. And so we took it we drew up some ideas, and we had this like working prototype, which is what's online now. You can still find it. I think it's at timac.com. I think it's .com website. It's one of the websites we don't. Yeah. I think it's like /JW Regenesis or something. But yeah, we sent that. We had a little meeting with the Universal marketing team and showed them this thing, and they were like, well, we're not really the guys who like launch this kind of thing. You need to like get the fan base to get behind it and stuff, create enough noise and this, that, and the other, and see what happens. And we did that for a while, but then the program we were using to make Jurassic World Regenesis kind of just broke. They didn't like nice. It was called Google Web Designer, and it wasn't necessarily made for the thing we were using it for. But it did, well, when I say broke, it means they didn't update it. Like the beta just stopped. So we're like, so we can't actually continue with this. So that sort of was like on the back burner. We're like, okay, we've got the story for Regenesis. Let's shelve that for now, and maybe one day we'll come back to it. But for now, that's just on the shelf. And so I had all this like energy in me to like create something like this. I was like, this like online comic book idea. I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
So then myself and Tim in 2017 started writing a script for a movie based on an idea I had when I was at high school called The Silver Lion. I won't go into the story of that, but I'll just say it's about a giant silver lion. But anyway, and then I was like, I should do that as an online comic book. So I started doing that by drawing it. And the very first frame you see in Dino Defenders episode 1 of the tops of the trees and the river meandering through, that is actually from the Silver Lion online comic book. And the meandering river was actually a road, and there was going to be a car going up a road. And I was like, I started editing that, and then I can't even remember exactly. Oh no, yes I can. I was doing my video on my YouTube channel called The Mysterious Islands, the history of Jurassic Park 4.
Yeah.
And I got to a moment in that video where I was doing like almost storyboard-esque panels for the John Sayles Jurassic Park 4 script. And I was drawing that out at the same time as I was thinking of this Silver Lion thing. And then I had so much fun doing that. I was like, Jack, you're going to have to do something to do with dinosaurs, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, the Silver Lion's like something I don't think would work as a web comic. I like that as a script for an actual movie. So again, goes on the shelf. It's like, okay, that goes on the shelf.
It's never bad having stuff to work on in the future, though.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, so what do I want to do? And then I had this idea of like, you know what? Why don't you just make it up as you go along? Like, don't even think. Just start painting and see what you come up with. So I did I used the tops of the trees and I changed it to a river, and then I made the helicopter. I was like, okay, so you've got a helicopter flying, and then here we are. It's like it just snowballed from there. And then around about halfway, well, no, not halfway through, that's about a quarter of the way through episode 1 when I was making it, I was like, yeah, you need an actual story for this. So then I started fleshing out where I wanted it to go. But even now, as we record this, the last sort of quarter of the story, I have no idea where I'm going to take it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah. So like the last bit, I know who I want to survive, and I know who I want to,
yeah.
but the actual like how things play out in the last quarter of the story, which would be, the last episode essentially. I'm like, I don't know how that's going to play out to get to those characters surviving, but I'm going to have to get there somehow.
Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting because obviously the kind of feedback you get from audiences might help to shape the direction you take that in. But equally with everything that's going on at the moment currently, you know, that might have an impact on some of the ideas you have creatively as well. So I think sometimes when you give yourself that space to kind of adapt on the fly, it allows for you to be a lot more creative because it's not always set in stone. And I think that's kind of a luxury because obviously when it comes to like big blockbuster movie productions, unless you're Jurassic Park 3 where you're rewriting the script the morning of the shoot, then 9 times out of 10 you kind of have a set idea and you have to follow that all the way through. So
yeah, exactly, there's a lot of creative freedom with this. And obviously a lot of it's, you know, it's just me on my own. So I'm like, well, do I like this idea or don't I? And I'll tell you now, there's a moment in episode 3 that I will have to talk about in detail, basically once I've got the entire thing finished, because there's a pivotal moment that happens in episode 3 that I was toying over how to do this moment, and I didn't quite know how to crack it until it must have been around February this year. And as soon as I cracked it, I was like, oh, thank God I've got it. So then I could continue. And I was like, oh, that was plaguing me. And I was sitting on this one idea and I was like, I don't know how to move it forward from there or how I could do that. I know I'm being very vague here, but there's moments like that where I'm like, I'm battling with ideas in myself, like which one works or which one will have the greater effect. And there's like the thing's ever changing, like episode 4, which I've begun working on the backgrounds for at the moment. Like there's something that is in episode 4 is going to be the episode that reveals all the basically all the spoilers, all the secrets and that come out in episode 4, which is you know, as I just said, I'm only working on background, so it's going to be a while before we see that one, guys. But that there's a lot of that episode takes place in this one big location, which didn't exist until like very recently, maybe just before Christmas. And I was like, okay, putting this location in the episode is going to fundamentally change the entire story. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So now I'm like retroactively working backwards as well, going, okay, what have I put in episodes 1, 2, and 3 that I can go, okay, that links to this and that links to that, and that makes episode 4 work. So it's just an interesting creative process because it's not planned. It's like just on the fly, like, okay, what's going to happen next? And then it's like improvising. But there are moments that I'm like, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I have to make sure I do those in the series, because if I don't hit those, then, you know, the whole end, the last minute of episode 3 has been there from the beginning. I've just like, I need that to happen. So I even designed certain things to like make it so the ending of episode 3 actually happens the way it does, which you'll find out in June when it comes out.
Not too long.
I hate talking in vague terms, but yeah, there's only episodes 1 and 2 are out at the moment, so they're the only ones I can actually talk about, really.
We'll definitely do like a more in-depth chat as well once more stuff is out there, so we can go behind the scenes and all of it. But I think for now it's just nice to kind of pique people's interest a little bit and get them to actually come along and join, you know, us for the journey as you continue to develop it. So yeah, I think that's cool. And I think it's really nice that, like you say, you kind of have these kind of set bits of almost cornerstone content that you know you want to hit, and it's then just working out the path to get from them. Because I think it's like a lot of people say in creative writing and other fields like that, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's then working out how you get from one point to the next and what kind of fills that. So it's cool that you've got a lot of freedom with how you get to do that. And I think that leads us quite nicely into the next thing I was going to ask you, which is, what is the process of making an episode like behind the scenes? Because I imagine it is incredibly time consuming.
Well, okay, there's two things that happen in the beginning. One, I have to be inspired by something.
Yeah. So
like I listen because I work from home a lot, and I also have jobs, but like I work from home a lot. I listen to a lot of stuff online, like a lot of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of lectures and talks that are on YouTube and stuff by academics and stuff. So I like listen to all that, and that feeds things into my ears, and then I sit there and I ponder on ideas, and then I'm like, how can I work that into Dino Defenders?
Yeah.
So then that's where I'll like come up with an idea for something, and I'm like, okay, even if it's something really small, but how the whole process works, like the whole episode 1. Another piece of inspiration for episode 1 was my wife turning to me when I was working on Regenesis. She said, you've been drawing dinosaurs since you were a kid, but humans, you're not good at drawing humans. And I was like, I know I'm not. And she was like, so you need to learn that, like challenge yourself. So I was like, okay. So then I figured I'd do them like quite exaggerated. So that's why the characters in this series, I've been like inspired by things like Disney and the animation films of Don Bluth and what's the other one? The Overwatch animated shorts for that video game they have on YouTube. And I was like, okay, go for that style, but make it your own. And I used to draw simplified humans when I was a kid because me and my friend Ross, who works at Chaos Theorem,
shout out to Ross.
Shout out to Ross. We used to draw comic books when we were kids all the time, and we used to draw them really stupidly and fast. So like we could draw simplified humans really well. So I sort of used that as a basis. But episode 1 was the hardest because I had to learn the style through episode 1. So that's why if you go back and watch episode 1, it's like style shifts halfway through and it starts to turn into like what it starts to look like. And even now, like I'm learning animation techniques and stuff as I go. But a typical frame, let's go for that for one example. Typical frame begins with I'll take a watercolor piece of paper or even just an A4 sheet of printing paper, and I'll literally put it on my screen on the frame which I have with the bars, the black bars on the top and the bottom, and I mark each corner of the bars so I know how wide the frame is. And if the thing's going to pan or move, I tend to like use those bars as an idea of where the frame's going to be, and then I'll paint the picture around it so then I can, we can have the camera move to a bigger picture or whatever. But then I'll watercolor the background, and then I'll take a photo of it on my phone and just send it to myself, and then download it onto Photoshop and using Photoshop manipulate the background to make it look more pop more and make it like get the lighting right and get all the detail in and make it look really like a feast for the eyes as much as I can. Then I'll make a new layer and I'll draw like a red line and I'll start drawing the characters out and adding stuff on like that. And then if there's movement, it's like there's a lot of like in my editing software, there's a lot of stuff that you can do like pans and zooms and add glow on stuff and all this, that and the other. But like for the actual dinosaur animations, that was one of the things, because it's like a lot of it's like storyboard panels come to life. So a lot of them are like just flat images that don't move. But then there's other frames where it's like there's people will just be standing there and it'll look like nothing's moving, but then suddenly someone will blink or someone's eyebrow will raise. And it might not be that you'll notice it straight away, but there's lots more movement hidden out some of those frames that you wouldn't necessarily notice. Like, for example, in episode 1, there's 2 characters standing on a platform talking, Hank and his father, Victor. And in the background, the water in the amongst the reeds is all rippling, just very gently, and it's like you might not necessarily notice it, but it's there, like just to fool the eye. But then when I got to the dinosaurs, I was like, those are the things that I think people who will like this sort of content will want to see move. Like they'll want to see the dinosaurs move. So the dinosaurs are almost completely fully animated. And episode 2, I started challenging myself more with that, because the opening of that, because the end of episode 1 shows the dinosaurs for the first time, and at the start of episode 2 we have this chase with the Dimetrodon, which I was like, okay, this is going to be the full first challenge, because I was like, I'm going to have to dive into an action sequence and try and do it as best I can. And then it's just evolved ever since then, and episode 3 has the most animation in it. It's insane. Like the Megaraptor is the main thing in the episode, and it is predominantly animated throughout the entire thing. Like whenever you see it on screen, I mean, like it's pretty much a fully animated thing. all over
You
the place.
posted a
Different
teaser
angles
of that on Instagram, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. I've been posting many teasers of that thing because that's my baby for this series is that Mega Raptor. I don't know. I just love the look of the head of that thing. It was inspired by the Mattel Herrerasaurus.
Yes.
I saw that Herrerasaurus from Mattel, and I was like, oh my god, I love the head shape on that thing. I want to bring a dinosaur to life that has that sort of head shape.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the Mega Raptor and I was like, I think I can get away with that. And then so that thing's fully animated, but I'll add all the frames in, then move them up, like draw the frames in on Photoshop, add them into the video editing software, animate the frames, and then have that as a almost like a shot. And then when I come to edit the actual full episode, I will stick all the shots together, and then add the dialogue boxes over them and add the music, and that's it's a long process, and that's why it takes so long to make each one. But I'd say relatively speaking it's quick, considering episode 1 launched. So episode 1 took me 2 years to make because it was, like I said, it was like a whole learning curve. I was learning the characters and this, that, and the other. But then episode 2 only took 5 months. So like 5 months after the launch of episode 1 on June 1st, 2019, in October, we got episode 2.
Yeah.
And now I know it's been longer now, but episode 3 should be coming out early June. So it's like, I think if I played my cards right, we could probably get the next few episodes out within the next couple of years.
That'd be cool. It's like a slow burn of good dinosaur content for people to enjoy.
Yeah, and I do the live streams and stuff so people can actually watch me painting it live. And so there's a moment for people to actually see some of the behind the scenes and see the process and actually understand how long it takes to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it, because people often don't appreciate how much work actually has to go in behind the scenes, like especially when you're saying obviously we're painting watercolour for all of your backgrounds. That's going to be very time consuming, and that is literally just the backgrounds to get that level of detail. So if you're bringing that to everything, then of course it's going to take a lot longer to do it all.
Yeah, that's because I stupidly went for a style that I was like, this style demands a lot of detail, so you should do it. It's because I was watching old Disney 2D Disney animated films like Rescuers Down Under and then films like Titan AE by Don Bluth, and I was like, I want it to look like this. Like I want it to have that 90s, because the whole thing is a huge love letter to my childhood. So it's like there's, like I said, Jurassic Park's a big inspiration for that. But also this is inspired by the Alien franchise, Ray Harryhausen films, things like Titanic and Avatar are in there, and just anything that I seem to love, I'm like, I'll stick a little bit in there to like homage it, and so the style is very 90s, in its bold colors, which are like the Chaos Effect toy line from the Lost World was like one of the big things that I was like, I need to go for that, and it's very like popping colors. So it might look like simple drawings of humans and stuff, but there's so much shading, and the backgrounds in those old films that I was just mentioning, they all have painted backgrounds, and Studio Ghibli films are another one for that. So I'll watch those and be like, oh, I just want it to have that sort of style to it, and that obviously just demands so much time. But I absolutely love doing it. It's like there's never a dull moment making this series.
No, and that's a good thing. I think it's so important that you get enjoyment out of obviously the projects that you're working on, because then that shines through in the project and people can tell that you enjoy working on it, and then that's reflected in how it's ultimately received. And I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later as well, but the first 2 episodes have been really, really well received, so I think that that's only going to continue. And obviously that's a testament to the fact that you enjoy what you're doing, so you're going to keep working on it for as long as you can.
Yeah, and I've got my wife's expecting, so we got the little one on the way in July, and I think that might just be top priority.
Might put a little spanner in the works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue working on it just whenever I can. So that's also the beauty of working on a project that's entirely your own, is you're not under the sort of thumb by any studio heads or anything like that. So it's like there's no actual rules for this, so I set the rules. So I'm like, okay, and that's not to plug myself too much, but like that's why I've got the Patreon set up, because that can help fund my time at home working on the series. And that's why I used a Patreon instead of Kickstarter, because a project like this, you'd usually use Kickstarter, which, you go, I'm going to release this thing on this date and I need X amount of funds to do it. But I chose Patreon because I was like, this is going to be so ongoing that it needs to be like an ongoing thing that people can either, dip into and help out and dip out if they don't want to continue, because they're like, they don't want to continue it. And that's why I was like, I like that method. Just anyone who wants to help can. And if you want to pull out, you can as well. It's like, it's free for all. There's no rules.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it, because then it lets people choose how they get involved and how they support as well, which is good.
Exactly.
And on the topic of other people, I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about how you've got to collaborate with some other people in this, because I know, obviously, when it comes to Chaos Theorem as a whole, you guys work as a team on different projects, and I know that you've got a few different people who have been able to get involved in Dino Defenders Extreme as well. So how has that kind of worked, and what's that been like?
From Chaos Theorem specifically, I mean, it's really only been Tim.
Yeah,
but that's because like I said, I'm working on the actual frames and stuff a lot, so there's not really any time. I talk to the other guys, but Tim is there as a producer, and I show him stuff early, and he'll tell me if something looks bad or this, that, and he's there mainly actually to edit the dialogue, because I'll send him I'll send him the episode in its first draft, and then he'll go through the dialogue and punch it up. And we literally yesterday just finished doing episode 3. Us two went through it all. So he's there, and Tim just loves promoting it, or promoting it through Chaos Theorem. And I remember I approached him. I was like, Tim, could this be a Chaos Theorem project? Because originally it was just going to be something for my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, do it, because why not, and because it's like an online web series, it's something that we can actually promote, and it's actually got its own IMDb page.
That's cool. I didn't actually know that. Wow.
Yeah, Tim set it all up, so once it's all out, it's going to be easier to sort of judge how well it is being received and stuff. I think once people know more of the story, because episodes 1 and 2 are still quite vague about where it's going, and obviously there's not much action in episodes 1 and 2 per se. I mean, you're going to get your fix with episode 3, let me tell you that. But yeah, in terms of collaboration, I work mainly with Luke Illingworth, who's a composer. I know him. He's an old friend because he was in my friend's band, and I lived with them when I moved to London when I was in my early 20s, and we just hit it off. And then he recently got, well, I say recently, it was 2017. He got he downloaded some sort of what would you call it, orchestral program. I can't remember which one he says he uses now. Forgive me, Luke. And he was like, "Can I have a shot at Dino Defenders?" Because I actually had my eye on a couple of other composers. And then I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Why not? Just have a go." And he sent me back something, and I was like, "Dude, you've got it." Like this, and I think it's because he was learning as well.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'll be honest, the other two composers I was looking at were like, they knew their stuff. But Luke was sort of like the same as me in where I was with animating and drawing this kind of style and approaching the project. So I thought, hand in hand, we could do this together and it would have a similar feeling, not only with visuals, but music. And so they would blend together more. And he's just been knocking it out of the park. And I have to say, like, his score for episode 3 is something else. I put a teaser out for that today, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. I shared that. That was really cool. I think he always knocks it out of the park with kind of hitting that nostalgic vibe that you want from, obviously, the style you've gone for, but it also has a really, really good sense of pacing to it, which I think is so important in moving the story forwards.
Yeah, well, speaking of pacing, this is the weirdest thing, because a part of the process of it as well is I'll finish the episode, the frames where I need music from him, because the credits, aside from the opening credits of episode 1, which he did, episodes 2 and the end credits, they don't need Luke's input. I sort those bits out. But the main bulk of the music is I'll send him the frames for that, or the completed episode for the most part, and he'll come back with it. And what's weird about it is the timing. Like, he gets it down, and I'm like, I just made this up and I slapped it together, and you've managed to get the beats and the timing and the rhythm like perfect, so it actually sounds like it's all been planned from the beginning. It's like, this is great. So, and he's just done it again with episode 3. Like, I just sent it to him, and then he came back with something. It was like all in time, nothing loses time. It's like, it's amazing how well he's like progressed in his adventures through composing, because he's not necessarily a composer, but he is now. Like, he's grown into one.
It's good. It's nice that you're both getting to kind of grow and learn as you work on the project together as well, because I think that's the sign of a good project, where you walk into it with kind of like set expectations and set things that you want to get out of it, but you actually come away from it learning a lot more from it, because then you can take that away into your future endeavours as well, which is always useful.
Yes, and I mean, Tim's got very interested in Luke, so we're all, you know, working together on stuff. So he's now sort of he's working on other stuff with Tim, is what I'm saying. So I can't really talk about that, actually. So,
no, that's all good. It's fun. That's cool.
Yeah. Tim listened to Dino Defenders, was like, "Who is this guy, Jack? Where how do you know him?" And I was like, "Well."
No, that's good. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, kind of making those connections and then sharing that and helping each other to grow from that project as well. So that's good. So earlier we kind of mentioned how it's been received so far. Obviously episodes 1 and 2 have released, as you said. I think they've seen a pretty good reaction overall, but I'm quite interested, what do you think of the reaction that they've seen so far? Have they kind of reached anyone that you weren't expecting? Has the demographic been what you expected? All that kind of stuff, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so far so good is all I have to say, really. It's like, people who manage to watch it say they really enjoy it, and I'm like, okay, good, I'm on the right track there. And there was a few complaints at the beginning with like the timing of the dialogue boxes, because I'm not using voice actors.
Yeah.
And the reason, just for a side note, the reason I'm not using voice actors is because, one, I would want professional voice actors, and I've had loads of people reach out like, "Oh, can I lend my voices?" And I'm like, I appreciate the reach out, but like, I'd want this to be like the acting has to be solid for this.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's going to cost an arm and a leg to get that. And two, it's like then you're adding more and more people who you have to be responsible for, and I'm like, you know, this is meant to be just like, I'm trying to cut all the fat down on who's working on this, just so we can focus.
Yeah.
And then but listen to the audience, open it up to the audiences by releasing them in parts. But the dialogue boxes in episode 1 were moving a bit too quick, so I got a lot of people going like, I couldn't read it in time. So then in episode 2 I slowed it down, and hopefully in episode 3 it's okay. But you know, it's like, so you can read it and then get the story, and then you can sit back and, if you want to, watch it again to get the visuals, but there's other stuff hidden in the backgrounds and stuff you might miss. So there is a lot going on the screen that you have to look at. But aside from that, no, the reaction's been mainly positive. You know, touch wood, it lasts.
Good,
you know, going through it. But not to sound too cocky, but I did make a prediction. I said to my wife, I was like, just before episode 1 launched, I said to her, I was like, I think episode 1 is going to do really well when it launches. I think people are going to be like happy to see this kind of content online. And I said, but I think episode 2 is going to be the one that turns people's heads who are invested in the story. They're like, okay, what's going on here? Because episode 1 has almost like, it's your box standard Jurassic beat for beat kind of thing. Scientists go to place, see cloned dinosaurs, the end. That's episode 1. You know, they go there, they see, oh, you got the that's how it always starts, man. Like, look at the dinosaurs. Brilliant. It's like classic tropes. We've been there before. There's a few things in there that make it different, like the leopard seal hybrid and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, besides that. And then episode 2 is like where we go, nah, this is going in a completely different direction. From previous stories like of this nature. And I did say that I predicted that episode 2 would actually do less in views and stuff like from episode 1. And then I said, but episode 3, I have a feeling, and this is a prediction, I could be completely wrong, and it could just, not be noticed or anything like that. But episode 3, I think, is the one that's going to beat episode 1. I think that's the one that people are going to go, like, you need to see this Megaraptor eat these people. Like,
cool.
this is the one.
Well, I mean, you're saying there's going to be a lot of dinosaur action in this one, so I definitely think that's going to be popular, because that seems to be why so many people, especially Jurassic fans, love these films in this series so much. We want to see people get eaten by dinosaurs and absolutely terrorized, so I'm sure it will be well received. Cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, I'm not... The reason I'm doing this, as I said, was like, it's not necessarily to look for how successful it is. It was originally just to teach myself, one, to draw humans, and just to have a project that I'm working on that is of my own, that's totally, something that I can focus on, that I'm like, okay, this is all you, Jack. What do you want to do? Like, you've got, the world's your oyster. You can paint. What do you want to do? And then, and so that's the nice thing about it. But now it's like evolved into this thing where it's like, okay, now I'm seeing how, especially in this sort of modern era of like online marketing and web content, it's like, how well can something like this do? And I mean, just to bring it back to Jurassic Park, because considering this is the Jurassic Park podcast, I thought it was kind of interesting that Jurassic World released a load of motion comics. And I was like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not saying they did, because I have no involvement in those comic books, and I have no idea what the decision making was. But I was like, that's kind of interesting that they've gone for that kind of web content.
It's a pretty, I mean, obviously you've done it for a stylistic choice, but I mean, generally speaking, when it comes to the modern sort of, I guess, way you perceive franchises, motion comics aren't traditionally something that you really see. It'll kind of be like short animated pieces, live action pieces, and then kind of like graphics and short video clips, that kind of stuff. So it was definitely something quite far-field. And I think it's interesting in some ways, because I feel like that, whereas... Because obviously, like you're saying, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way it doesn't bash the motion comics, because I feel like they've had that enough. But but where
I'll say this: I think the motion comics leave a lot to be desired. I think, if I'm honest, if I was making those comic books with the team that I have, you'd probably like enjoy them a little bit more than you would.
But I think at the same time, like, what I was gonna try and get to was kind of the factor where obviously you were saying this is your own project. That's nice, because you have the freedom to go away and decide things and kind of build this from the ground up, where obviously when it comes to things like Jurassic Park, we already have set conceptions of what we want to see, and so when it's something a little bit different, we're not necessarily going to be receptive to that. So I feel like that's where you've really got an advantage, because you're kind of starting something from the ground up and building the audience as you go along with it.
Well, yeah, and that's also the thing about this is, like, if you're working on a project, for a studio as big as like Universal or something, they have to, and this isn't a bash on them, but they have to, because they have to weigh up these factors. But it's like they have to take into account, you can't show people smoking, you can't have gore, you can't have swearing, you can't have. There's all these rules that you can't have because of the IP and what it stands for and how it has to be represented and all that. Whereas I have none of that. So when I watched like the original Jurassic Park, Ray Arnold's chain smoking because that was the time that it was made in, and there was no ifs or buts about what kids would think watching that. And but nowadays, like, to get a character smoking in a film, I'm just using that as one example that I'm focusing on. Like, James Cameron had to fight the studio to get Sigourney Weaver's character to be a chain smoking scientist, because they were like worried about it influencing kids and stuff. But he got it in there. But that sort of thing in these sort of movies nowadays is quite rare. That kind of, I'd use the word grit, kind of gritty, realistic kind of elements to the story or characters that just make it that extra bit sort of tangible. And so with Dino Defenders, that's why like I have like every other character's like chain smoking, and they say that like because the base where they are is it's like in international waters, but like the equivalent of international waters out in the jungle. So it's like there's no law, so they can do whatever they want. So they're just sort of lounging around and doing whatever they want, and and they're swearing every now and then, but there's going to be gore. Not like, we're not talking Dennis Nedry holding his own guts as the Dilophosaurus is like, biting his neck kind of gore. Nothing too graphic of that nature, because personally, if I was younger, I would have probably done something like that. But older Jack is like, I want to be clever with the violence and the gore in this. So it's going to be choice moments, but when it happens, it's like, yes, like
it's making that effect last.
Yeah, well, at least hopefully. I mean, how much can you get out of 2D animated drawings? That's also the thing I have to contend with. But there's no rules like that, because there's no studio or anyone above me on this project. So it's like, if I want it, it's going to go in.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's good. It's nice having that level of freedom. And that kind of leads nicely into what I was going to ask you next, which is, with that level of freedom, where would you like to see the project go in the future? So obviously you have started it as a passion project, and it's an idea where you just wanted to take it and run with it and see what you could do with it. But now it's kind of starting to gain traction and gain a following. Is there anything that you'd really like to aim to do with it in the future?
Yeah, I mean, God, I get so many ideas. So the main goal at the moment is to do 6 episodes.
Cool.
And right now, as we speak, I'm actually currently debating, but by what I said previously of like not knowing exactly how the last quarter is gonna play out. I'm weighing up whether it should be 5 episodes, and I actually condense what's gonna happen in my mind that I know I want to happen in episodes 5 and 6, but just actually bridge them and bring them together. So instead of having 6 episodes, have 5. But then the goal after that is to actually stick all of them together to make a feature film.
Cool.
So that's why the credits, that's why I said Luke is only scoring the actual episode in the middle, because the credits and the start titles I can actually just remove and then stick them together like Lego bricks, and they actually play out. I'm also debating releasing a halfway point version, so it's like episodes 1, 2, and 3 that are all stuck together, so you can actually watch the first half. But my goal is to actually, first thing I'd like to do is actually finish the entire project. That'd be nice. But then make the feature film version, which is like stick it all together, and it should hopefully be around an hour, 20 minutes, I think.
Cool.
Around that, maybe even longer, like an hour and a half, like a proper feature.
So potentially competing with Jurassic Park 3 here.
Yes, exactly. So that's one idea, and then Tim and I have been talking about the idea of shipping it around studios.
Yeah,
because it's like storyboards. It's almost like, here's your pitch trailer for this series that could be made into. My ultimate goal would be a 3D animated film.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like of the style of like Pixar or something. Like probably not on that budget, but like something like that, like a 3D animated or even heck 2D animated film that could be sold to studios and come on streaming services or anything like that. And if my ultimate goal, if we're saying wishful thinking, just anything, right? No bars on the imagination. I honestly would make this into a musical.
Oh wow!
Because think a Disney 2D Disney animated film musical like that. But
that'd be really cool.
And the reason I'd want to do that is because there's that old adage from the Jurassic franchise of if it's not Jurassic Park, it's extinct. Yeah, which is what they used to do to like promote the first film. And I think that was like, look for the mark of Jurassic Park on all the toys and stuff. Like, if it's not Jurassic Park, it's extinct. Yeah. And so I figured, like, well, what's the best way to break that mold and not be compared to Jurassic Park too much? And it's like, we'll make it a musical, because that would totally break from the genre in such a way that it's like it's unique. And I'd want it to be like proper ballad musical, and the songs wouldn't happen when the action's happening or anything like that. It would be like choice character moments, because that's what musicals, like the best musicals, are like. You know, they develop the characters through song, or they explain to the audience like how the character's feeling through song on that. So it'd be like choice moments, but when the action kicks off, you wouldn't have someone singing while they're running away from a dinosaur. Anything like
I almost
that.
have like an amalgamation between those classic Disney films and something like Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds in my head, where it's kind of like narrative storytelling in a musical format.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's a great way of putting it. That's what I mean. Like the narrative is going forward through song and through the story, but also there's moments where it's just acting like a normal film.
Yeah.
But then it will like go back in and that's why the chapters. And we're trying to emulate that kind of thing with the series as it stands.
Yeah.
Because I told Luke right in the beginning, I was like, you're the heart and soul of this. Because people can look at the visuals, but they're only going to be really hearing your music, aside from some choice sound effects that I'll put in every now and then. And so it's like, you're the heart and soul, so you're the music. So it almost is a musical as it stands right now, because that's all you're hearing. And also like it's like a silent film. I was like, this is like a modern silent film from like the 1920s. Like, you know, I was planning right at the beginning of having like, you see a character's mouth move and then it cuts to a black screen with the text, like an actual old 1920s film. But then I thought, no, that's too jarring. Maybe you should have the text on the screen, and that's where we led to the voice boxes.
No, cool. I think it's an interesting way of kind of making it distinctive, like you say, because I do think there is that kind of perception there that if it's not Jurassic Park, how will it stand out with dinosaurs involved? Like, I was talking to somebody on Twitter earlier today, actually, and we were talking about the idea of another dinosaur franchise coming after Jurassic Park, and it's kind of like, well, how do you get past that expectation now of being a Jurassic film? It seems like it's the only film in Hollywood that's really got dinosaurs in it that's maintained any kind of profile. So you're right in saying that to get past that and to really make yourself stand out, you have to kind of subvert what audiences expect from the dinosaur genre and make something completely different. So I think
and there's in terms of film and sort of dinosaur media, Jurassic owns it. Like there's no one's ever going to come close to the size and scope of Jurassic. And the problem with other dinosaur properties is they try to match them. Now, I'm not saying like people should settle for less, but the reason other dinosaur media doesn't take off is because they end up emulating Jurassic Park too much, to the point where the comparisons are too much. Whereas if you actually embrace that, if you actually find what Jurassic Park was really about and try and embrace that, then you might actually find some sort of like way through it. And so that's why going back to like the idea of the ethics and the moral quandaries that come up with the idea of cloning prehistoric animals and taking and going, okay, well, where did they go in Jurassic Park with that idea? Okay, they went this way. Well, if we start from their same point and go this way, then we might end up somewhere different and might actually turn a few heads to be like, hey, that's different. But like, no one's ever going to reach the success of the Jurassic Park franchise in dinosaur media. It's virtually impossible at this point in time. It'd have to be I don't know what they could do to rival Jurassic. But that's why, like, with this little web series that I'm doing, I'm just like, you know, I'm just gonna toy with the what if. Like, what if this was something that we got? And it's not perfect, because I would love this to have voice actors and have it fully animated, like all the humans and everything animated and all that, and have it as a proper film. But you know, we have to take baby steps, and it might visually look very similar to Jurassic Park, but the story when you get to episode 4, which is ages away, but like when you get to episode 4, you're gonna know that this isn't Jurassic Park at all.
Cool. Yeah, I think that would be good for people as well, because obviously it then takes what they're expecting and kind of twists it on its head, and that's really the crux of good storytelling, making people expect something and then going in a completely different direction.
And it's also like boxing yourself in. Like I have so many like limitations because of like all the dinosaur media that I know about, and like just outside Jurassic Park, like the Land That Time Forgot or Valley of Gwangi. Primeval. I will get around to watching it someday, Tom. I watched like maybe 3 or 4 episodes when I was younger. When it first aired, I think I was that. But I think at that point in my life, if I'm honest, I think I was actually very much in the lull, because this was in the middle of like Jurassic Park 3 and where Jurassic World came out. So it was like I was a sort of late teenager, so I was like I wasn't really I was concentrating on girls more than I was that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But no, what was I can't even remember my point now. It's just like I'm limited by what I can do without having too much, without treading on too many toes of other things that have already been said and done. So that's why I'm like, okay, what can I do in this series to make it different? And it is, and I'll say this. I'm not saying it is different. I'm saying it's ridiculously similar to a lot of other stuff, because it's virtually impossible not to when you're dealing with dinosaurs. Because dinosaurs have been a part of media since, well, 1913, 1914.
They were in one of the classic King Kongs, weren't they? Which was
even before then. Yeah. Even before then, it was Gertie the dinosaur. It was a guy who played live orchestra for the audience, and they had a 2D animated, I think it was a brontosaurus on screen that would play on the projector in time with the music.
Wow. And
that was like that might have been like 1909 or something. Like it was ridiculously early. Yeah. And then there was Brute Force in 1914, which was a live action film about cavemen. It was like a silent movie, only 14 minutes long, I believe. But it has a like almost full-size animatronic Ceratosaurus in it.
Oh my god, that's
cool. Well, I say animatronic in 90. It's probably not animatronic. It's probably like giant rod puppetry. But it's like the first live-action big dinosaur on screen. Yeah. So it's like they've been in there from the beginning. So there's no way you're not going to tread on toes when you create dinosaur media. But that does give you like a path to be like, okay, well, if I go this way, I don't think I've seen anything like that, so I'm going to go that way, and that's where good. I'm sort of taking it, and that's why, I decided not to have things like the T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Brachiosaurus, Triceratops, Dilophosaurus, Velociraptor, Deinonychus, however you pronounce it, Ankylosaurus. None of the classic dinosaurs are in this series because I'm fed up of seeing them. Yeah, they're done. So let's go. I think the most classic dinosaur I probably have in this series is probably the Camarasaurus.
Nice, yeah.
That's probably the closest we can get to like a quote unquote like classic dinosaur. The rest are all like quasi unknowns for people outside of paleontology.
Yeah. No, but that's a good thing, because I think, so I'm lucky enough that in the kind of circles I've created doing the podcast, I get to talk to a few paleontologists, and they always say it's good when media brings new dinosaurs to the forefront as well, because then it encourages more people to engage with more things. So I spoke to somebody who works at a museum the other week, and that will be coming out in the next few weeks here on the podcast, and he was saying that actually as a result of Fallen Kingdom there's now more people interested in dinosaurs like the baryonyx, whereas they would never have been interested in that before. So I think media plays an important part in bringing them to the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah, definitely. But I will stipulate that Dino Defenders Extreme is in no way paleontologically accurate. That's not the point of this story, and characters point it out all the time. They're like, have you genetically altered this creature in any way? And they're like, no, yeah. Like, this thing doesn't look exactly how I imagined it to look, like, and all this sort of stuff. And that does have a story reason for it. But that also gave me sort of the off the leash to like just draw a dinosaur how I want it to look rather than how I think it should look. And obviously, if I was being paleontologically accurate, you wouldn't get dinosaurs doing half the stuff that they do in this series. So it's more for the storytelling than it is the accuracy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You've got to make those sacrifices sometimes.
I will choose creatures like the Megaraptor for the series, because I think for general audiences, if they watch that, they'd be like, Megaraptor, that sounds like a made-up creature. They think of Velociraptor from Jurassic Park, and then they hear the word mega, and they're like, oh, you just made a big raptor and called it Megaraptor. It's like, no, that was a legit dinosaur, and it wasn't even like it was an Allosaurus, I think. It wasn't even a raptor.
I just like the idea of all the characters being like, nah, this dinosaur's legit. So I feel like we spoke quite a bit about this, and it's really, really cool, because obviously I think that there's so much scope for different dinosaur material out there still, even around Jurassic. So I guess to kind of wrap things up, when can people expect to get their next dose of I've mucked that up, Dino Defenders Extreme, there we go. I'm not going to try and abbreviate it because it's not going to work for me. But when can people look forward to the next episode?
Well, as we record this, I haven't actually got a specific date, but I literally got sent the updated score like a few minutes ago. So if the score is if there's no other edits to the score, well, actually, I think the scores, we're going to get the thing done by this week. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm thinking maybe June 2nd or June 8th. It'll be one of those two dates. And I hope it's June 2nd, just because I want to get Jurassic June off with a bang.
Yeah, definitely.
Or it might even be June 1st, actually. It might even actually be the Monday.
That would be cool. Because
of this whole lockdown business with this coronavirus going around. Like, I'm on a different time zone to a lot of people. So I go to bed at 8 now, and then I wake up at 2 to go to work. So like, I want to actually have it premiere on YouTube when I'm awake. Yeah. But I might actually, do it at 8 o'clock on Monday, because I've got that night off, so I can actually stay up a little bit later. I can stay up till 9, Tom.
Wow.
I can be a big boy. You stay up till 9. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So maybe, let's say I've just been saying early June, but I'll put it up on my YouTube channel, Pterodome 3000, when it's ready, and it will have the premiere date on there, so you'll be able to know. So keep an eye on my YouTube channel. Cool,
perfect. And as we kind of round out the show here, that does lead me nicely onto the next thing I was going to ask you, and the final thing, which is, where can people keep track of everything that's going on with Dino Defenders Extreme?
So the best place to go for information on the series is the Patreon page, which is the patreon.com/Ewinzilla. And my YouTube channel, Pterodome 3000, are where the episodes air, and also where you can watch the live streams and other videos that I feel like making, mainly about Jurassic Park, over there. The live streams have kind of taken a bit of a break since I've been working on the post-production of episode 3, and also where I am in episode 4 is a bit spoiler heavy, so I can't really show any of that at the moment. But I will get back to doing live streams when I can, in the near future. And obviously, as I mentioned, I've got the little one on the way, so we'll see about that. But yeah, they're the best two places to go. And if you want, find me on Instagram. Just search Dino Defenders Extreme on there, or Jack Anthony Ewins. I tend to post a lot of behind the scenes stuff on there. And yeah, there you go.
Cool, perfect. Well, was there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up the show at all, Jack?
Stay safe, stay Jurassic.
I'm so proud of you right now. Cool. Wow. So on that note, that has been another Innovation Centre segment here on the Jurassic Park podcast. I hope that you have all enjoyed this look behind closed doors almost at Dino Defenders Extreme. Obviously, we're all big fans of dinosaurs at the end of the day, and it's a really, really cool project I think you'll all enjoy. So make sure to go and check it out if you haven't already. With that all said and done, I am sure that I will be speaking to you again very soon.